So this is a short video to go together with the former video about the passing fan. It's how to use the team stats, the actual stats from a season, and apply them to the fan, so you can actually simulate the team's performance on the field by the stats that they had from the previous year or any year that's been kept on statistics. Okay, the site that I use for reference material on this is actually profootballreference.com. They get some pretty good stats in there for the teams, as well as you can look back to other years for teams in the league to see. They keep stats for win and losses and points for and against teams back to 1920, so it is a good source. Okay, so now if we're going to apply those statistics, the stats for the year, the average for the Cardinals is a 67% pass average, and the Denver Broncos is a 57. So rather than the basic 65 that we use for the generic game, you would actually use those percentages for pass plays for the two teams. Now that changes again when you get to the red zones, because you see as you add the defensive the offensive and the defensive modifiers for the opposing teams to each other, it changes the Cardinals' red zone chances to 85% pass completion, and Denver to a 59% pass completion. Okay, so the stress modifier is determined by the number of sacks averaged out against the number of pass attempts. So that number is done for both offense and defense against opposing teams. So we take the offensive value and apply it to the opposing team's defensive value, and that comes up with the new stress modifier. So in the case of the Cardinals here, it's 11.7 is the end result. So we would use an 11. We always round down with that. Denver, on the other hand, is a 13.2, so we would round that down to 13. So when determining the modifiers to a pass, the only things we actually take into account would be then a long pass or short pass, whether receiver is in contact with the defensive player, and again, if that defensive player is intersecting the line between the quarterback and the receiver. Other than that, if there's a defensive player within the pressure zone of the quarterback or of the receiver, in the case of the Cardinals, you would add 11 to those other modifiers, and for the Broncos, you would add in 13 to those modifiers to affect the percentage roll. Unlike the basic setup with the fan, the pass stress modifiers are not cumulative for each number of defenders within the stress zone. As long as you have one defensive player in the pressure zone, the modifier is applied. If you have 2 or 3 in there, it doesn't increase the value of the stress modifier unless it is a contact modifier. Okay, so we'll do an example of a long pass with one defender within the receiver's pass or pressure zone. So with the Cardinals, their base rate is 67%. So with long pass, we're looking at a 10 modifier, and their stress modifier in this situation is 11. So it gives us a total of 21. So with that, if you had a dice roll of 46 or less, that would be a completed pass. Now Denver, on the other hand, with a pass completion rate at 57, with a long pass, start off with a 10 modifier. Now because their stress modifier is 13, we now end up with a result of 23. So they're looking to complete a long pass with a roll of 34 or less. Not a very good option. With a regular passing fan, interception rate is between 98 and 100. Now, taking the stats for the teams for the year, we can modify that number to reflect the results of the team's offense and defense together to make a new modifier. So in this case with the Cardinals, with their interception rate as opposed to the interception their defense caused, shows a result of 1.4. Now we would round that value down, and that number then would be subtracted from the interception number to make it a 97 as opposed to a 98. So 97 to 100 would result in the Cardinals throwing an interception. Likewise, Denver had a high interception rate for the team for the year of 2020 and 2021. So their interception rate is 2.13 between them and the Cardinals defense modifier. So those put together would make it a result of a 2. So that would result in 96 to 100 would result in an interception being thrown by the Broncos. Okay, so just a brief explanation of how to use the stats with the passing fan in order to result more realistic play action for when playing a particular team, as taking their strengths and weaknesses and put it into play to make the game a little more realistic, or a bit of a challenge for you as to how you approach the gameplay for that team in a game situation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you very much, and have yourselves a great day.